we go. This is Linda from Long Island.
Hi, Linda from Long Island.
Hi, Linda. Okay, the question is, what's a witch to do when dating a born again? ... How do you keep religious beliefs from becoming a holy war?
Okay.
Should we fess up?
Let's fess up. We already answered this one, but we only had the audio running and we didn't have the video camera going.
So please enjoy the video that goes with the
audio. Yes,
the video that the pictures that are going to go with your question as we're talking.
She's going to edit in some pictures so you have something to look at while you listen to how we already answered this.
Thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Pictures.
How's that? How's that for honesty in programming?
Right. Thanks.
Blessed be.
Blessed be. Let's just jump right in, shall we?
Let's. Hit me.
Okay. Now, this is from Linda.
Okay.
And I think you know where Linda is from.
Yes, Linda's from Long Island.
Okay.
Because I know this question, so the nature of this question, we'll just say Linda from Long Island. Give her that anonymity.
Okay, Mark. Well, you know it, but you got.
Yeah. I'm ready.
What's a witch do when dating a born again? ... How do you keep religious beliefs becoming a holy war?
Yeah. Wow. It's such a good question because it's a question that I have had to ask myself ever since I came out of both closets, both the gay closet and the witch closet. So, first of all, we have to really look at that this is not so much a spiritual issue, but a socio-political one.
Okay.
All right. So I know we're going in heavy. First question. I think what draws people together spiritually, we'll start on that level and we'll work down into the socio-political. What draws two people together is a maximal opportunity for learning, always.
That's why we're together, folks,
Yep.
I guess.
Because we do. In Earth Signs, we have that good communication and good work ethic. But romantically, what brings two people together, what I have found, is not so much that you're mirror images of each other and that everything syncs up perfectly. Mm-hmm. Marianne Williamson, one of my favorite spiritual teachers, said that relationships are very much like putting rocks in a rock tumbler.
Okay.
That if you've ever worked with a rock tumbler, you know you don't put in smooth rocks. You put in rocks with sharp, jagged edges, rough edges, and then they tumble around and tumble around and tumble around, and whatever, 3, 4, 7 days, some go for weeks and weeks and weeks in the rock tumbler, they come out smooth and polished. Spiritually, I think that metaphor works really well, particularly with romantic relationships, that we are brought together so that our rough edges rub up against each other and that we become more polished. Now, polished, hopefully more enlightened, hopefully healthier, hopefully we grow as a result and we learn. So I don't know whether it's just a question of pagan, I hate to use the word verses, but that's sort of how the question is set up. When you're saying holy war, it's a versus. Pagan versus Christian, particularly fundamental Christian. I think you could put that together with any two things that seem to be polar opposites. I mean, I see it with a liberal partner and a conservative partner. I see it with Democrat and Republican. I've seen it balance itself out.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Maria Shriver. There's such a good joke there that I'm not going for right now. Anyway, the point being is that there is something to be learned on both sides. It comes down to something that we've talked about before, I think, when we did the audio podcasts, that you have to ask yourself, is the relationship a means or is it an end?
Right.
If it's an end, it's an end of conflict, it's an end of loneliness, it's an end of anything along those lines, you will suffer because relationships are never an end. Happily ever after doesn't really exist. We all know that because then there's the next day when the prince leaves the cap off the toothpaste. I know, such an illusion buster. But the larger point being that it is a means. Mm-hmm. And if you can enter a relationship respectfully, knowing that it is a means to my growth, to my healing, to my learning, not so much trying to grow, teach, or heal the other person, but really grow, learn, and heal yourself, I think that any of those opposites are really complementary. Mm-hmm. I do think respect is a boundary that is needed in any healthy relationship. Certainly teacher-student, we'd like to see more of that. Worker, boss, all of these different forms of parental to child, sibling relationships,
And child to parent as well.
Absolutely. Well, I'm kind of trying to put it both ways in
Right.
saying that respect as a boundary is essential to any healthy relationship. Now, in specifically addressing the born again to the pagan relationship, I've never dated a born again.
Mm-hmm.
I may have slept with a few that I wasn't aware of what their status was.
Obviously
The
didn't
90s
bother them. You were a pagan at the time.
90s are a bit of the blur. But I have dated an ark-load full of Catholics. I mean, seriously, I went through this thing with Catholics. I'm still sort of dating a few. So what I found had to happen just for us to even communicate was either to shelve the religion altogether and say, our relationship at this stage is not about that. Get to know me on other levels. Let's build a solid foundation, and then we can discuss that stuff. As long as respect is in the room, we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Once that foundation is established, then I found that we had a lot in common. And I think anytime you're trying to do conflict resolution, which what is working on a relationship, if not conflict resolution 90% of the time, then you start looking for what joins you, what unites you instead of what divides you. Because remember, we have a split mind. We have a very holy part of our mind and a very twisted part of our mind. You could call that the higher mind and the ego, or the higher self and the smaller self, or the spiritual self and the worldly self. We could divide it up all these different ways. Would you also call that
your shadow self?
Well, no, because the shadow self can have really beautiful stuff hidden in it.
Okay.
Like, if you stop singing because someone said you have a horrible voice, your singing voice goes into the shadow. That doesn't mean it's evil. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's negative.
Okay.
Okay. The ego, the part that really thrives on and survives on our separation ideas, will always look for what separates us. It's based in judgment. The higher mind, the Holy Spirit, as the Course would call it, or the higher self, as most people would call it, really only looks at what unifies.